What's going on? Welcome to another video. In this video, I take your airbrush questions and I answer them here. So if you have an airbrush related question that you need an answer to, leave it in the comments below and there's a chance that I'll feature it here. So today's question comes from 08 Rainan 08. Hello, your videos have helped me buy my first airbrush. I have a cordless one, but since I have zero experience, I don't exactly understand how to use the double action spray well. Can you maybe show how you control the spray and create different effects? Thanks in advance. So I've got one of the cordless airbrushes here by SprayGunner. I'm going to use this airbrush to demo instead of a regular airbrush because that's what you have. So let's show you how to utilize that double action properly first. Now the key to using double action is to press down for air and then pull back for paint. Now I've just got some Trident black in this airbrush and I've over reduced it. Now the reason I've over reduced it is because we're using this battery airbrush which doesn't push out as much PSI. So you're looking at about, I'd say, 15 to 18 PSI. But you can see I'm still able to get some detail out of this. Now you can hook up other airbrushes to this particular unit. I've got a few videos on this particular unit as well as how to hook up other airbrushes. Links will be in the description below. So when doing a line, or you could see how I did the dots there and that shading. So let's start off with the shading. You need to press down for air, pull back for paint and start to move with the stroke. So you don't want to just pull back for paint and then move and then stop, because you're going to get these heavier areas at the end which you don't want. So always air on full, paint on, paint off, paint on, paint off. So obviously a light shadow you do from a distance, and don't be scared to be a fair distance away from the surface. I find that a lot of beginners are up trying to be nice and close and trying to shade in, and you can see how much harder it is to control. So coming back a bit further, yes, you're going to get more overspray, but you'll be able to control the airbrush and do a lighter tone first, which is essential. You want to go nice and light and gradually build up. So if you're doing like a graduated tone, for example, you'd work your way down, doing a 50-50 overlap, meaning the first pass is like so, then 50% of the overspray from the next pass will overlap onto the first, like so, and you just keep going, and that's going to give you a nice even tone. So if you don't follow that 50% overlap, this is what could happen. You'll start to get gaps within the tone, all right? So you want to be nice and even, paint on, paint off, 50-50 overlap. And you can see I'm not doing this either. You don't want to paint like that, especially with the battery one, because it takes a little bit of time, as you can hear, from pressing down. There's a slight delay before the air actually comes out. So if you go and sort of try and paint like this, so you see I'll start to get splatters like this. So a good way to get the splattering happening, if that's what you want, you can kind of do that really easily. But not what we want if you want a nice, smooth, soft tone. So when doing dots and finer detail, you want to be up nice and close, rest on the surface, press down again for air, and just pull back a little bit for paint, like so, and then it'll just come out ever so slightly. You can see I'm keeping that air pressed down. You'll notice I'm getting a little bit of tip drying, and that's starting to give me intermittent dots. So that's another thing. Because you're running at a lower pressure, that's why I over thin the paint. You want to use your fingernail, pick off the tip drying. I usually put my finger over the front, pull back, and that will bubble up through the cup and just sort of dislodge any blockages, and you can spray out heavy a couple of times to make sure it's all flowing smoothly, and then you're ready to continue with your painting. You can see how much more responsive they are. One thing to note as well is, so this is quite common, this can happen when the lid blocks up. It's important to make sure that that hole remains clear like so. If that's blocked, you want to get an old needle and just push the dried paint out of there. Make sure that's always clear on a gravity feed brush. If that is blocked and you continue to paint, you'll find that the airbrush isn't working that well, and then eventually it'll try and find a way to clear that out and it'll blow the lid off and paint will go everywhere. So be sure that you keep an eye on that as well. So as a beginner, if you want to practice your double action and really master it, then I urge you to try the dagger stroke, at least that's what I call it. So you start off from a distance, air on, then paint, then move in and start to shut the paint off and trail it off at the end. Start again, so moving slower with that heavier amount of paint, then moving in, speeding up and shutting the paint off. And then you do the opposite, up nice and close, pull back on the paint, and then move away from the surface and feather it out. So again, up close. So you see I have a little bit of dot trailing there, and it started to run a little bit there. The reason being is what I did was I put the airbrush down on the bench and it fell flat down and it actually bent the needle. I managed to fix it up using the SharpenAir tool, which worked really well because it was extremely bent. However, it's still not 100%, so that's why it's leaking out. But I wanted to continue to do this video utilizing that particular airbrush rather than switching over to, say, my Eclipse or something like that. So another way to test your double action even more is on your page, draw 4 vertical lines. This will create 2 columns, and then move in off the side. Keep your height, your speed and everything consistent, and put a line through the column. Paint on, paint off, paint on, paint off. And keep going even if it's stuffing up on you a little bit. Again, you can see that trailing, that's caused because the needle's not seating properly, but you get the idea. So to create some real basic effects, you can use freehand templates like, say, this texture template, spray through it, and that's going to give you a nice grungy effect really easily. You can move it around as you spray or sit it flat for a harsher texture. If you want to airbrush skulls and bits and pieces, then there's lots of different templates available, like, say, the Skull 74 here by AirShot Stencils, and you can, spray around that to get a real basic effect. I'm not going to go in a lot of detail, I just want to show you quickly how you can utilize it, and you're already getting a bit of an outline there of a skull, and you can start to shade within that and create a real skull artwork. I'll link up to some videos showing you exactly how to do a skull from start to finish utilizing these templates. If you don't have templates of your own, that's fine. You can use things like a sheet of paper, tear it roughly and use that as a paper template and spray using that to create all different effects. You can also use the sharp edge to get a defined edge, not a problem. And then a sheet of paper towel, you can either scrunch it up like so, hold it into place and just spray around it to get a softer edge and sort of shading, or you can grab that same piece of paper towel and rip it up like so, and you're going to get a softer edge than what you would with the paper. So using the paper towel, if you kind of hold it from a distance and spray around it like so, you can see how quick and easy, if this was on a blue background, you can get that sort of cloud look, so simple. And that's, like I said, just using a paper towel, you don't need anything specific. So thanks again to 08 Rainan 08 for their fantastic question. I hope this video has helped to answer that for you and show you some different effects that you can achieve very, very easily, as well as the key things that you need to do when using your airbrush. To continue your learning, be sure to check out some of the other videos and playlists that I've got listed here. And until next time, go grab your airbrush, do some amazing artwork yourself, and I'll see you again very, very soon in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.